In this video, I'm gonna break down how to make money with vintage cards and how the grading process works. Vintage cards are a little bit different just because they were printed so long ago. Let me show you how we do it. You got Eric here? Hello?
Yeah, hi, this is Eric.
This is Eric. Who's this?
Yeah, hi, this is Bob Hollab.
Bob, nice to meet you, Bob.
Thank you. Glad to meet you.
How may I make your day better?
Well, I had a question about baseball cards, right?
Go for it.
So, and I may not know what I'm talking about, but
Okay.
Anyway, I'm 74 years old. I have a bunch of cards from the 50s and 60s.
That's the right time to have cards from.
Yeah. And now, but I also have some from the 80s and 90s, and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
It seems to me that when I, like just say, I'm just picking a year, 1992. I know those are the years when there's a lot of cards produced and all that. But if I have a set in a box, completely, untouched, not open, the shrink wrap is still on it and all that kind of stuff. And then I look up values of individual cards in that set. It seems to me like, some of the more valuable cards might be worth, 100, 150, but the set itself, which contains that card, is only like $40.
Okay.
And so I'm just wondering, how can that be if individual cards in there are worth more than the entire set?
Okay. So there's so many variables at play when it comes to vintage cards. So you could have a vintage card. So are you familiar with grading?
Yes, I am.
So you could have a vintage card, take some random card from like a 1953 top set. It might sell for $25 on eBay, but if it looks like it's in good condition, it might sell for $100. So there's so many variables, and it depends on the set. If the set is worth more, either keeping it together or splitting it up. Usually in my experience, what I do with sets, I don't mess around with them too much because they're so tricky and there's so many cards and not all the cards are worth getting graded. So, which is like, there's so many cards and like sets that aren't just worth anything, but the set is worth more together if all the cards are graded, because there's set collectors that will spend a lot of money. But the reason you might be adding up the cards and it's worth more or less than the total value of the set, there's just way too many variables at play. Like you could have a set of 1957, whatever, sell for 12 grand. Then another set sells for 20 grand of the same year, same type as a card, just because the condition is perceived to be better. And then you might have the set, same set of all PSA 4s sell for way more. So like there's so many variables at play. And like with these sets, it's like a niche person that's buying it. So they might just be in a good mood and spend a lot. Like there's no like direct answer, but it's just weird like that.
Yeah. Well, so, and I understand what you're saying, and that makes sense. It's just that, some of these sets, like I said, they haven't been opened. They still have the shrink wrap around them. And so all the cards inside are, should be, mint condition. And so it just seems strange to me that I could spend $100 buying a card, graded at 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And but yet I have a set that has that card in it in mint condition, and the set, I see it sells for $40.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, now I have a much better idea. So the part you're missing is that I could almost guarantee you whatever card that is that's in that set will not be a PSA 7. Even though you might, I understand what you're saying. It's logical to think, okay, I've never touched this set. All these cards are in mint condition. It's not how it works because cards back then when, I don't know how it worked in the 50s when they were making cards back then, but the factory or whatever they came out of, like people weren't taking care of them. So they were just kind of roughing them up, putting them in these boxes. So they come out of the boxes with like rounded corners. And also the way they were cut off the factory line, a lot of them, most of them aren't centered. So like nowadays, not all cards, but most cards are pretty well centered. Because like these companies are pretty cognizant of the fact that people care about the centering of a card. However, back then, people didn't even know what centering of a card was. It was just cut off the factory the way it was. There was no grading back then. So most cards, if you look, it's like I could pull up. I'm gonna share my screen here. I don't know if you're watching me live, but I'm just gonna do this for the audience. So
no, I don't know how to.
Yeah, it's okay.
How to get connected that way.
It's okay. I'm just gonna show the audience, but.
Okay.
Like if we look at like a Babe Ruth 1933 Gaudy, right? That's a pretty common, card. You can see this card is just will be cut like this, right? Where the centering is terrible and it's just altered at the bottom. And then you'll have another one where the centering looks a little bit better. You can see that top is bigger than the bottom. So it was just cut randomly off the factory line, like, this one is all over the place. This 1933 Gaudius left is way bigger than the right, and the top is way bigger than the bottom. So odds are, whatever card you're looking at that was a PSA 7 will not be.
Yeah.
That's a very, very difficult card to grade. Just to put it in perspective, back in the day, I guess back in my day in 2016, when I bought my first lot of vintage cards. So I purchased this was like my big break in sports cards, I guess you could call it. I found this lot of cards in Connecticut. And it was this old guy who was dealing with his family. His grandpa passed away. He had a bunch of older cards. And I bought, maybe like 5,000 cards from him. Out of those 5,000 cards, maybe 100 of them were worth grading because they were worth at least like $100. And out of the 100 cards I sent in for grading, not one card got over a PSA 4 except for one. There was one 1958 Topps Willie Mays, I think, that got a PSA 8. The other 99 cards all got to 1s, 2s, and 3s. So it is extremely difficult to get any type of vintage card to grade a 7. And I understand what you're saying because they're still in the box, but it's probably worthy of grading a 2, 3, if I had to guess.
Yeah, well, and I know what you're saying about the centering and all that because I have a bunch of cards where it's obvious where the centering is way off.
Yep.
And so, okay, well, that tells me a lot. So I really appreciate your information.
Hey, no problem. You said your name was Bob, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I appreciate you calling in, Bob. We do this 10 a.m. Mondays Eastern time. So any other questions, feel free to call in.
All right, I will. Thank you very much. I'll call in some more.
All right, Bob. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
Good guy. He didn't sound like he was 76. He gave younger vibes for sure. Much younger vibes for sure. Well, we'll leave it at that because I need to give myself a little bit of time before all my meetings. I do appreciate everyone calling in. We try to do this Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I do think the next one we're doing may actually be on Sunday because I'm going to be away for the week. Appreciate everyone. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to call in with as many questions as you have about sports cards, business, life, whatever you want. Appreciate you guys. See you in the next one.